Hello, Namaste. Welcome to this lesson. So, I am Krishna Dikshit. I am from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Delhi. I work at the Center for English Language Education. I teach English language, literature, and linguistics courses. And in this unit, which is from Block 4, we are going to look at the topic which is titled Make Peace, Not War. So, without much ado, let's take off. So, the quick outline for you can see it on the screen that we are going to look at reading, and then we are going to address a few specific language topics. One is inferencing in reading, and second, evaluate situation and express opinions. And we are going to conclude this lesson again with listening. So, the first thing as a starter to make sense of this unit, let's think for a while about what is war? What do we mean by war? Is it always political in nature? Is it something that always happens between nation states? What is war? What are the implications of war? And peace, which is often considered to be an antonym of war. What is peace? I request you to ponder over these two innocent-looking questions for a couple of minutes, and if you wish, you can make notes. And then we are going to refer to our study material, which is a diary entry from Anne Frank. So this is one of the famous texts. I am sure you all are familiar with Anne Frank's The Diary of a Young Girl. So here you have the diary, and this is one simple entry. Can we all read it together? So this entry is from Wednesday, 3rd of May, 1944. Dear Kitty. Obviously, Kitty is a reference to the diary. It's like she is having a dialogue or conversation with her diary. First, just the news of the week. We are having a holiday from politics. There is nothing, absolutely nothing to report. I, too, am gradually beginning to believe that the invasion will come. As you can easily imagine, we often ask ourselves here despairingly, what's the use of the war? Why can't people live peacefully together? Why all this destruction? The question is very understandable, but no one has found a satisfactory answer to it so far. Yes, why do they make still more gigantic planes, still heavier bombs, and at the same time prefabricated houses for reconstruction? Why should millions be spent daily on the war, and yet there is not a penny available for medical services, artists, or for poor people? Why do some people have to starve while there are surpluses rotting in other parts of the world? Why are people so crazy? I don't believe that the big men, the politicians, and the capitalists alone are guilty of the war. Oh no, the little man is just as keen. Otherwise, the people of the world would have risen in revolt long ago. There is an urge and rage in people to destroy, to kill, to murder, and until all mankind, without exception, undergoes a great change, wars will be waged. Everything that has been built up, cultivated and grown will be destroyed and disfigured, after which mankind will have to begin all over again. I have often been downcast, but never in despair. I regard our hiding as a dangerous adventure, romantic and interesting at the same time. In my diary, I treat all the privations as amusing. I have made up my mind now to lead a different life from other girls, and later on different from ordinary housewives. My start has been so very full of interest, and that is the sole reason why I have to laugh at the humorous side of the most dangerous moments. I am young and I possess many buried qualities. I am young and strong and I am living a great adventure. I am still in the midst of it and can't crumble the whole day long. I have been given a lot, a happy nature, a great deal of cheerfulness and strength. Every day I feel that I am developing inwardly, that the liberation is drawing nearer, and how beautiful nature is, how good the people are about me, how interesting this adventure is. Why, then, should I be in despair? Yours, Annie. So take a minute to collect your thoughts, what we have read here. And here we have a few questions. What's the date of diary entry? So you can see here, this was dated Wednesday, 3rd of May, 1944. Who is Kitty? Again, you can see it here. Kitty is the diary itself. And then what questions she asks about war. So here you have a set of questions. What is the use of the war? Why can't people live peacefully together? Why all this destruction? Why should millions be spent daily on the war and yet there is not a penny available for medical services, artists and poor people? Why do some people have to starve? Why people are so crazy? These are some of the questions. She is actually reflecting on what she is or what she was witnessing then. So now we are going to consider the techniques of reading here. So the first one is scanning. So scanning refers to finding or locating specific information. For example, on the previous slide we had a question. What's the date of diary entry? Who is Kitty, etc. So when you know exactly what you have to find, you quickly browse through the text and then you find out the required information. So this form of reading is called scanning. And the second technique of reading is skimming. So it involves quickly reading something just to see if the text is interesting to us or not. And the aim of skimming is to get a gist of the text. Gist in the sense, the summary or the key idea, the subject of the text. Now, we have responded to the questions pertaining to the scanning, like what's the date of diary entry or who is Kitty. Now let's try something related to skimming. Now what's the overall idea in this diary entry? What do you think? Is Anne stands for war or is she opposing war? Because nowhere in the diary she has said anything on this in clear terms. But reading this entry, we can certainly guess what's her view about war. When she asks a question like, what is the use of the war? Obviously, we can infer, we can guess that she is not happy with the war. She is not happy to see that people cannot live peacefully together. She is not happy to see that millions are spent on war, but not a penny spent on medical services or giving something valuable for the poor people. She is not happy to see that some people have to starve. She is not at all satisfied to see such craziness of people. So looking at this single diary entry, we can surmise, we can easily say that Anne Frank is raising some valid and pertinent questions about war. And that can be summarized in just one simple question she begins with. What is the use of the war? So let's quickly look at the points related to skimming and scanning. Now you can check your progress. focusing on these points. So for skimming, we have 3 prompts here. Anne Frank's reflection on war. She is not at all happy. She is for peace. She wants people to live together in all happiness. And if you look at Anne Frank's nature, she is quite reflective, very sensible, humane, and she analyzes causes of war. She says that common people, it's not only the politicians or the policy makers or the decision makers, it's even common people they are interested in destroying. So what we are doing so far is called inferencing, which is the third technique of reading. So this is also known as the advanced technique of reading. Whenever we read, we should be able to infer the meanings. Inferences are not stated directly in the text. So we have to make out the meaning. So there are clues, so there are dots, we have to join them and arrive at the precise meaning. So inferencing is a conclusion or an evaluation reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. For example, when we looked at all the questions Anne Frank raises about war, so we can guess, we can arrive at a conclusion that she is opposing the war. So this conclusion is inferencing. Or for example, let us say it's a cloudy day, he said. So what's the message here? So message could be, it's not going to be a sunny day, probably it might rain, so it would be a better idea to carry an umbrella with us. Or maybe not go out at all. Or if you are thinking of partying on the streets, maybe it needs to be postponed given the cloudy condition. So these are all inferences. So based on our reading, what's your impression about the text? What do you think about that diary entry by Anne Frank? Or let's look at the following sentence. This question is very understandable, but no one has found a satisfactory answer to it so far. What is the question? Why is it a very simple question? Why has no answer been found as yet? What question Anne Frank is referring to? So when you respond to these 3 questions, you can say that you have inferred. Alright? So let's go back to the text again. So here for checking your progress, there are questions. So please attempt all of these. Now look at this last one. Though Anne was living in a very dangerous time, why does she think and say, why should I be in despair? And this is a pertinent question. Though the circumstances are hostile, she is quite optimistic. So look at this question. Though Anne was living in a very dangerous times, why does she think and say, why should I be in despair? So look at the text. She says that I am young, I possess many varied qualities. So I'll explore them. I'll make them flower. She says that she is young, strong, and she is living a great adventure. So in simple words, we can say that she is quite optimistic and hopeful. So she doesn't want to be depressed or live a depressed life. And then there are other items here. So you can go through this text. And here comes the lesson on listening. So in this lesson, we are going to listen to a famous song, a famous lyric by one of the members of Beatles group, John Lennon. Imagine is the title of this poem or song or lyric, whatever you would like to call. I want you to keep this text open before you with a pen in your hand. And what we shall be doing is I'll be reading the poem or song, and then you will listen and you will be listening and you will be filling in all the gaps. Okay? And then you can check whether you have done perfectly. I'm sure you will do it. So here is the song by John Lennon. If you want, you can also watch it on YouTube. It's sung by so many people. So let's begin. Imagine there is no heaven, it's easy if you try, no hell below us or above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion to imagine all the people living life in peace. You say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will live as one. So this is a simple, short song. And you must have seen it, that this song also corresponds to the ideas that we have read in Anne Frank's diaries. Here John Lennon is also asking the same questions. He is also not for war. He wants to imagine a world without any war. Okay? So you can keep on listening to this song again and again until you got all these blanks filled in correctly. Now here you have the song. Alright? So dear students, what we have done in this lesson? We looked at reading. The reading was a diary entry by Anne Frank. What was the date? 3rd of May 1944. So this is scanning, then skimming we looked at, and then the third one is inferencing. And then we listened to a song by John Lennon and tried to fill in the gaps. So that's all for this session. So thank you so much for your attention. Enjoy your studies. Thank you.